Hello and welcome to Realpolitik. This is Stanley Johnny, the Hindu's International Affairs Editor. On March 7, 2025, US President Donald Trump announced that he had sent a letter to Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei seeking to negotiate a deal on Tehran's nuclear program. A week later, on March 15, the United States launched waves of preemptive airstrikes against Ansar Allah, commonly known as the Houthis in Yemen. Within 2 days, Israel resumed its bombing of Gaza, effectively ending the fragile ceasefire that had been in place since Jan 19th. On March 22nd, Israel carried out its heaviest airstrikes in Lebanon since the November ceasefire targeting Hezbollah. After a brief lull, West Asia is back on fire. The common thread in all these developments is unmistakably Iran. While Mr. Trump has reached out to Tehran for nuclear talks, the United States and Israel continue to escalate attacks on Iran's so-called axis of resistance, increasing pressure on the Islamic Republic. We are down to the final strokes with Iran, Mr. Trump declared on March the 7th. The United States has also deployed more fighter jets and its second aircraft carrier to West Asia. How did we reach here? For America's elites, Iran's nuclear program and Iran in general has remained an unresolved issue for decades. President Barack Obama sought to address this through diplomacy. The 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, curtailed Iran's path to a nuclear bomb, but Israel and the Israel lobby in the United States were not happy with the agreement. While the deal restricted Iran's nuclear program, it left its nuclear processing capabilities, extensive ballistic missile program, and support for the Axis untouched. The JCPOA, which promised to lift economic sanctions on Iran in return for scuttling its nuclear program, allowed Iran to join the economic and diplomatic mainstream of West Asia, an outcome Israel found unacceptable. Mr. Trump, who first took office in 2017, shared Israel's narrative that the JCPOA was a flawed deal. In May 2018, Mr. Trump unilaterally withdrew the United States from the agreement and reimposed sanctions on Iran, effectively sabotaging the nuclear agreement. Mr. Trump's maximum pressure campaign, along with Israel's covert operations inside Iran, met with Tehran's maximum resistance. If Mr. Trump's plan was to force the Iranians back to the negotiating table, it failed. Instead, Iran stepped up its nuclear program, enhanced its support for the network, particularly the Houthis, and expanded its weapons capabilities. But then, Hamas attacked Israel on October 7, 2023. Following the attack, Israel saw an opportunity to weaken Iran's forward defense through a mini-regional war. Initially, this approach faltered. Israel's war had two dimensions. One focused on Gaza and the other targeting Iran. Israel took the war to Iran, first by killing an IRGC general in Syria and then bombing the Iranian embassy in Damascus. The Iranians retaliated by directly attacking Israel. In Gaza, Israel has killed over 50,000 Palestinians and destroyed much of the enclave. Yet, it remains far from achieving its stated goal of destroying Hamas. In Lebanon, Israel has degraded Hezbollah's militant infrastructure and decapitated its leadership, but the high casualties that it suffered and its failure to halt Hezbollah's rocket attacks ultimately forced it to accept a ceasefire in November 2024. Meanwhile, Iran has significantly expanded its nuclear program. According to the IAEA, Iran now possesses enough stockpile of 60% enriched uranium to make 6 nuclear bombs if further enriched to the weapons-grade purity of 90%. But then two key developments happened in November, which Israel thinks have shifted the regional dynamics in its favor. First, the election of Mr. Trump, who unapologetically supports Israel's war policies, has given Tel Aviv the confidence to continue its mini-regional war without bothering about external pressure. Second, the fall of the Bashar al-Assad regime in Syria has disrupted Iran's regional axis. Mr. Assad's Syria, Iran's only state ally in West Asia, had served as a crucial land bridge between Iran and Hezbollah. Hezbollah's ability to rebuild itself depends on supplies from Iran. With Mr. Assad gone and a regime of Sunni Islamists that is hostile to the Shia theocratic Iran taking over Damascus, the supply route has been severed. As a result, Hezbollah, Iran's most prized ally in the Axis, will remain weak militarily, which would in turn weaken Iran's overall deterrence. This shift is reshaping Israel's approach towards the conflict. Under the November ceasefire with Hezbollah, Israel was expected to withdraw troops from southern Lebanon, but it refused to do so. Likewise, it has since refused to withdraw troops from Gaza as well and resumed bombing the enclave. Mr. Trump's decision to bomb the Houthis, one pro-Iranian group that remained relatively unscathed, signals that he is fully on board with Israel in its mini-regional war. But for Israel, the fight against militias is not the ultimate goal. The real target is Iran itself. With the Axis weakened and the Assad regime gone, Israel thinks that the Iranian regime is more vulnerable today than at any time since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. The Israelis are tightening the ring of fire around Iran. As Iran faces the heat, Mr. Trump has stepped in with his offer for dialogue. While the contents of Mr. Trump's letter remain undisclosed, his demands and those of Israel are no secret. The United States wants Iran to give up its nuclear program, restrict its conventional military capabilities, and sever ties with the Axis. Iran, however, has only expressed willingness to engage in indirect talks, focusing only on the nuclear program, essentially a return to the 2015 framework. But Donald Trump wants more. For Iran, accepting Trump's demands would be a surrender. Iran, which sees itself being surrounded by hostile forces in a violent and volatile region, is unlikely to accept restrictions on its defense industry or cut ties with the Axis. With Iran's shrinking strategic space, Israel's growing aggression, and the near impossibility of diplomatic common ground between a hostile Trump administration and a wary Iranian regime, the risk of a large-scale military confrontation is today higher than ever. Yet, war with Iran, even if the Axis is decimated, would be catastrophic. Israel has two broad military options here, both requiring American involvement. The first is a series of heavy airstrikes aimed at crippling Iran's nuclear facilities and military infrastructure. However, given that most of Iran's nuclear facilities are buried underground, some of them beneath mountains, even a joint US-Israeli operation may fail to eliminate them completely. Even if the facilities are damaged, Iran will still possess the technical know-how to rebuild the nuclear program. And post-attacks, it will even have greater incentive to develop a nuclear bomb. The second option is a full-scale regime change war. But unlike in Syria, a country that has been internally destabilized by years of civil war and different armed opposition groups, Iran has no organized militarized insurgency. So if the United States and Israel want a regime change, they will have to launch an Iraq-style all-out invasion of Iran. But Iran, which is a country with centuries of statecraft, ring-fenced by mountains, and with a polarizing but deeply entrenched, ideologically motivated regime, whose navy has the Strait of Hormuz in its sight, is not Iraq. Israel might still want to push the envelope as it sees Iran's current vulnerabilities as a historic opportunity, but Israel needs its patron, the United States. So the final question is whether Donald Trump, who came to power campaigning on ending America's forever wars, would commit to an all-out war against Iran if his diplomatic push collapses. If his statements and the regional developments are to be taken seriously, Mr. Trump seems inclined to back Israel's push to reshape the region by force. Thank you very much. For more such videos, please subscribe to The Hindu.